Hello everyone. So we're going to go through some solutions from the problems that we did in class today, okay? So the first problem says, find the third-degree polynomial equation with rational coefficients that has the given numbers as roots, -4 and 2y. Part A, find the additional roots, okay? So from the complex root theorem, what do we know? If we have -4 and 2y, what is another additional root that we know of? Well, we have 2i, remember it comes in pairs. So we also know that we have -2i as well. So all of our roots that we have are -4, 2i, and -2i. Okay? And part B, describe the polynomial. What they mean by that is actually give us a polynomial in third degree. Okay, so let's do that. So we have the roots -4, 2i, and -2i. And how do we write the factors for those three roots? Well, if we have -4, then we can write one of the factors as being x plus 4. If we have 2i, we can write one of the factor as x minus 2i. Remember, it's always x minus, x minus. And if we have -2i, we can write it as x minus a -2i. And this can be simplified as x plus 4, there's nothing we can do with that, x minus 2i, and x plus 2i. Now we simply have to FOIL all of them together and get our polynomial. So let's start that. I'm going to do these two first because doing the complex letter I will cancel out with each other. So I will do that using the box method with you guys. So we have x, we have -2i, we have x, and we have 2i. And I'll use different methods for some of these problems so you can see all of them. So we have x, -2i, x, 2i. And let's FOIL. X times x, x squared. -2i times x, -2ix. X times 2i, 2ix. -2i times 2i, -4i squared. Okay? So, -2ix and 2ix, what do we know when we add them? They cancel each other out. And what do we know about I squared? Remember, I squared is equal to -1. So this part can become -4 times -1, which will turn out to be +4. So we can rewrite this whole thing as x squared plus 4. And that is the foiling of these two. But our answer has to be FOIL with x plus 4. So let's do that. And this time I'm just going to use the regular foiling method so you can see all the methods that we're going to use. X squared plus 4. Okay? So x times x squared, x times 4. So let's do x times x squared, x to the third. X times 4, 4x. And then 4 times x squared, and then 4 times 4. 4 times x squared, we have 4x squared. 4 times 4, 16. And can you combine any of these terms? And the answer is no. So then we write it in standard form with the highest degree. We have x to the third plus 4x squared plus 4x plus 16. And we have a polynomial that has these three roots. 2, same thing. We know we have a root that's 3. We have a root that's I plus 1. Well, what is another root that we know of? Remember, I plus 1, its conjugate is -I plus 1. It looks a little weird because we write the imagined part first, but if we think about it, if we roll it the other way around, then we know its conjugate is 1 minus I. Same thing here. if we know it's I plus 1, the conjugate is negative I plus 1. Be careful, it's not I minus 1. It's negative I plus 1. So now we can write our three factors as well. Remember, we have three roots now. We have 3, I plus 1, negative I plus 1. So same thing as we did for the earlier part. Let's write our factors. 3, we can write it as x minus 3. And then I plus 1, we can write it as x minus, I'm going to put the parentheses, I plus 1. Negative I plus 1, we can write that as x minus negative I plus 1. Now let's simplify this. There's too many parentheses here. So let's simplify that. There's nothing we can do for x minus 3, so I'll just bring that down. This negative sign, it could be distributed into everything inside. So we can write it as x minus I minus 1. Same thing with this negative sign. It can be distributed throughout. So we can write this one as x plus I minus 1. Okay, so far so good. So now we have to FOIL. So let's FOIL these two parts first, and then we're going to get our answer and then FOIL with that one. Same thing, I will use the box method here so you guys can see, okay? So we have x minus I minus 1. And we have x I minus 1. So let's do that. Let's start multiplying. X times x, x squared. Negative I times x, negative ix. Negative 1 times negative 1 times x, negative x. X times ix. Negative I times negative I squared. Negative 1 times negative I. X times negative 1, negative x. Negative I times negative 1 is just positive I. Negative 1 times negative 1, positive 1. So now we've filled out our boxes. Let's see what we can cancel. Negative ix and ix, they cancel each other out. If you add these two together, they form 0. You can cancel them. Same thing as I and negative I. They cancel out. And then nothing else cancels. But I squared, remember I squared is negative 1. So negative of negative 1 is a positive 1. So I can rewrite this as positive 1. So that's what we get here. We have x squared, negative x plus a negative x, negative 2x. 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay? And now we're going to take that, I'll write it underneath here. So we have x squared minus 2x plus 2. That's what happens when we FOIL these two together. Now we have our answer, but we have to FOIL it with x minus 3. And this one, I'll use another method. So we're going to do x squared minus 2x plus 2. And we're going to do it using regular style multiplication. Okay, 2 times negative 3, negative 6. Negative 2x times negative 3, 6x. Negative 3 times x squared, negative 3x squared. X times 2, 2x. Negative 2x times x, negative 2x squared. X times x squared, x to the third. And now we just simply combine like terms. Nothing can combine with x cubed, so we write that. Negative 3x squared plus a negative 2x squared, negative 5x squared. 6x plus 2x, 8x minus 6. And now we have our polynomial. Okay? So let's look at another question. Now, find the third term of x plus 2 to the 11th power and state the total number of terms. Now remember, in class, we used the Pascal triangle to figure out what the coefficients of this binomial is. So let's do that. Just in case you forget how to do the Pascal triangle, I'll start. Remember, you all start with 1, 1, 1, and underneath you write 1, you add the two previous ones together, 1 plus 1 is 2, and you end with a 1. So everything on the sides are 1, and everything in the middle are addition of the previous two numbers. So then you can write 1, 1 plus 2, 3. 2 plus 1, 3, and with a 1. And the next one, 1, 4, 6, 4, 1. Okay, so on and so forth. Now, remember, this is a plus b to the 0th power, a plus b to the first power, a plus b to the second power, a plus b to the third power, so on and so forth. Okay, so notice that if you have a plus b to the second power, how many terms do you have? You have 1, 2, 3 terms. A plus b to the third power, 4 terms. A plus b to the fourth power, 5 terms. So it's always whatever exponent you have plus 1. That's how many terms there are. So let's look at the question. The question says, find the third term of x plus 2 to the 11th power and state the total number of terms. So if we have 11, then how many terms do we have? It's always whatever exponent we have plus 1, right? So state the total number of terms. We know its total number is 12 terms. Okay? Now we need to find the third term of this. So how do we do that? Well, we have 4 so far, but I want to go up to the 11th. So instead of going all the way up to the 11th, I will just show you what the answer looks like, okay? So we have a Pascal triangle that's already been made. Okay, so we have, this is to the 0th, 1, 2, okay, so 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we end up with our 11th term right there. 11, okay? Now, we need the third term. So the coefficient is 55. This is the first term, second term, third term, fourth, fifth, sixth, so on and so forth. So we know the coefficient is 55. So let's write that here. So we have x plus 2 to the 11th power. So we have x plus 2 to the 11th power, okay? And we can write that as the coefficients 1, as stated on top, 111, 55, 165. But we just want the third term. So I'll just write out pretty big for you guys. So the first term has a coefficient of 1. Second term has a coefficient of 11. Third term has a coefficient of 55. And then so on and so forth, which we don't care about for this problem. Now, how do we fill out each part? Remember, it's always the first part to the 11th power, second part to the 0th power. And then this exponent on the 11th slowly go down by 1, and the exponent of 0 slowly go up by 1 as we progress in each term. So here, x becomes 10, 2 becomes 1. X becomes 9, 2 becomes 2. One way to check, as we mentioned in class, is if you add up the exponent, they should always equal 11. 11 plus 0, 11. 10 plus 1, 11. 9 plus 2, 11. So we just care about this term. So how can we simplify this? And the answer is yes. We have 55 x to the 9, 2 squared. What is 2 squared? That's 4, right? You can write that as 55 times x to the 9th times 4. Can we combine any terms? The answer is yes. We can combine 55 with 4. If we multiply them, we get 220. And then x to the 9th. That is my third term. Same thing here. Second part. Find the fourth term of this and then state the total number of terms. Okay? So we have an exponent of 7. So how many total number of terms do we have? Remember, it's 7 plus 1. So we have a total number of 8 terms. And we want to find the fourth one. What is the fourth term? So let's look at 7. Where's 7 at? So let's start with 0, 1, 2, 3. 7 is right here. So it's 1, 7, 21, 35, 35, 21, 7, and 1. We want the fourth term. So we want what is attached to 35. So let's do that. Same idea. Okay, so we have x minus 3 to the 7th power. And I'm just going to write out the first 4 terms, the coefficients. We have 1, 7, 21, and 35. Okay, let's fill it in. So this is x to the 7th. Remember, negative 3. Negative 3 to the 0th power. Okay? And for the second one, x to the 6th, negative 3 to the first power. X to the 5th, negative 3 to the second power. There are shortcuts to doing these. We don't have to put a negative sign every time. But for these type of problems, I want you guys to practice getting used to these negative signs, okay? And then next one, x to the 4th, negative 3 to the 3rd. And we only care about the the fourth term here, okay? We only care about the fourth term. So let's take a look. 35x to the 4th, and then parentheses, negative 3 cubed. What is negative 3 cubed? That is negative 27. Multiplied by x to the 4th, multiply that by 35. Okay, and what is negative 27 times 35? We get negative 945 x to the 4th. And that is our fourth term. Okay, so I hope this helps, and good luck on you guys' exam tomorrow, okay? Good luck, everyone.